Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in for this quick update on Sftr and our detailed work on this topic. It's now more than a year since the start of Sftr reporting in July 2020, but we continue to be very closely involved and member engagement continues to be really good, which is very positive, but of course also shows that there is still a lot to do and to improve. So let me quickly take you through the latest developments. Starting on the side of regulators who, quite similar to us, really continue to be very busy with Sftr reporting, and we do continue to have a very good dialogue. When we talk about the Sftr regulatory framework, we speak, of course, about the law itself, level 1, and the technical standards, level 2, which haven't changed at all for the time being, at least. But most of the detail is really set out in the additional ESMA guidance, the so-called level 3. And this does continue to evolve. There are a number of parts to the level 3 guidance. First of all, the initial reporting guidelines. So these were published back in January 2020 and only updated once since then in December 2020 and not really on substance at all. The second part to the level 3 is the Sftr validation rules and the related XML reporting schemas. And these have actually changed quite significantly recently. In late July, ESMA published a number of important corrections and updates to both of those documents, partly addressing some concerns that we had raised. And this process also involved updating the relevant global ISO reporting schemas with the relevant stakeholder group in which we were also involved. So those updates are very positive, but there is a concern that ESMA's implementation timeline is really not ideal. So far, the changes are due to apply on the 31st of January next year, which is very ambitious considering the need for quite significant IT system changes and also the industry testing that is needed. But also because of other pressures, especially we've seen the recent announcement by UnaVista to terminate their TR service by the end of January next year and the resulting need to migrate those data flows. And on top of that, we have the upcoming implementation of CSDR settlement discipline on the 1st of February. So to avoid any disruption and negative impacts on data quality, we sent a letter to ESMA earlier this week, jointly with ISLA, in fact, to ask for a delay until mid-April of the application date, which conveniently also coincides with the next Sftr reconciliation phase. So we'll see how open they are to this suggestion. Another important document which keeps evolving is the Sftr Q&As, which is another way for ESMA to provide additional guidance. It's mainly based on questions received from the industry, including a few that we had submitted. So this document now covers 11 topics and various sub-questions. Not all of them helpful, but still it's a very useful tool and we'll continue obviously to monitor this closely. And then finally, one more important update since the previous AGM, a very positive one, in fact, and that's related to the reporting of issuer LEIs, where ESMA agreed in April to extend an exemption for the reporting of non-EEA issuer LEIs. So those won't be mandated until October 2022. So that's a big relief as there continues to be a huge gap in LEI availability in some jurisdictions outside of Europe, even if we have seen some improvement since the reporting start. And one last thing to mention, as for other regulations, there will be a formal review process for Sftr, also involving level 1 and level 2. That will be initiated by an ESMA report, which was initially due earlier this year already, but this had been postponed given all the delays. So we're waiting for that process to kick off in the next months. So that's it for the EU side. Now, obviously, since January and the end of the Brexit transition, we're not dealing with one Sftr reporting regime anymore, but with two. That's EU Sftr, but also UK Sftr. So one big concern in this context has always been the potential divergence of the rules. as many firms report both in the EU and the UK. So far, this has fortunately been very limited, and we have had a very close dialogue with the FCA, who have been very open and constructive throughout the process. So we hope that we can continue to make sure that these two regimes remain broadly aligned. One related topic to mention is the reporting of SFTs with central banks. So unlike all other SFTs, SFTs with central banks are currently reportable under MiFIR, which is certainly not ideal and has caused us a lot of headaches already. In the UK, SFTs with both the Bank of England and also EU central banks are in fact reported under MiFIR. That was a pragmatic solution that the FCA had found to align with the EU regime. But that approach is now being reviewed as part of the broader wholesale markets review. And we commented in our response on this point, highlighting again the more general difficulties of reporting SFTs under MiFIR. The ideal solution from our perspective would really be to exclude SFTs with the home central bank, sort of BOE in this case, from reporting and to report all other central banks consistently under SFTR. And we made very similar comments to ESMA in the context of the ongoing MiFIR review in late 2020. So we'll see where this goes. Finally, just a few words about our ongoing work with members on SFTR. As I said before, our SFTR task force continues to be really active, still holding monthly meetings with usually well above 100 participants. And there is indeed certainly no lack of outstanding issues to work through. We maintain our issues log to track those issues. And this also feeds in directly to our best practice recommendations. So these documents also continue to evolve, including most importantly, our recommendations for reporting under SFTR, which are not an easy read with now well over 300 pages. Finally, also to mention, we continue to make an effort to make sure that we get as much out of SFTR as we can in terms of public transparency. So the TRs are required to publish some summary statistics every week, even if they are quite limited. So to help make those more accessible, we collect this data, aggregate the figures, and publish them on our public data page in a hopefully more user-friendly format and with some charts as well. So these are accessible to everyone. And based on the public data, we also publish from time to time more detailed analysis. There was a section in the previous European repo survey. And just a few weeks ago, occasion of the first anniversary of SFTR reporting, we published an analysis of the first year of SFTR public data, which was prepared by my colleague Richard Komoto, who will also touch on the findings in more detail in a separate pre-recorded update for this general meeting, together with the results of the 41st European Repo Survey. So please have a look at that as well. So that's all for my quick SFTR update. Thanks for watching, and please do not hesitate to get in touch with us if you have any questions. The contacts are on the last slide, along with some links to our SFTR resources available on the website.